to yet another 11 PM somewhere Irish craft beer video review, and for this review this time we're going to have O'Hara's Irish Red Ale. So, the first thing you notice about this beer is that it is an incredible deep ruby red colour, which is fantastic. Colour to head is beautiful as well, quite thick, a little bit on the luxurious side, which is fantastic as well. And that first aroma that you're getting straight off the bat with this is a big caramel nose that's coming up, and it's a big sort of red fruit nose as well that's happening with it, which is fantastic. And there's that bit of biscuit going on, which I always think is a really good thing. Now, this beer comes out of the core range from O'Hara's, who are actually also the Carlow Brewing Company here in Ireland. Probably one of the sort of the longest running craft beer producers in the country, which is fantastic, and their beers are widely available around the place, which is great, so it makes their availability really good. Value on it in terms of price is really good as well. And the nice thing about this brewery, just a little FYI if people who might not be familiar with them, is they actually produce beers as well for continental supermarket giant Aldi. They produce a range of beers for them, and they also produce it for Marks and Spencer's as well, which I think is great. That we've got a company that's actually able to do that, and it isn't a macro, which is beautiful. So, like I said, on first smell, you're getting everything. You're getting the biscuit, you're getting the caramel, you're getting that red fruit going on. And you're getting that first taste going in there. You're definitely getting a bit of biscuit, which is fantastic, which you're sort of getting from the caramel that's used in this. You're definitely getting caramel in there. There's no two ways about it. It's a bit of sweetness to it. The bittering at the end is nice because it's sharp, but it's a refreshing kind of sharp as well. It's kind of just a real snap that it has. It's not lingering either. And sort of the lingering taste that you do get is there's a little bit of red berry fruit going on, which I think is a really nice touch for finishing at the end. Now this is being the same sort of market as sort of Reds by McGargles, which is their Gravy Mavy's Red or Granny Mary's Red. I can't remember which. That's another really good alternative to this as well. This would also be sitting in sort of the likes of Galway Bay's Red as well. And you know what? I think this is here's the thing with this. This should be sitting in the same field as, say, macro, like Smithwick's and everything else, okay? But Smithwick's is a fucking terrible beer. There's nothing redeeming about Smithwick's. In fact, the fact that it's still called that, I think, is an embarrassment to the name. But this is a really, really nice red. It's a big, full-on, luxurious. I mean, it's not heavy either, which I think is a really beautiful thing about it. I think the aroma is really nice. This is a really, really clean beer. It's the one thing I can actually say is quite a good thing about O'Hara's. There are some people who would say that, you know what, as you move along the taste journey with Irish craft beers, that beers like what O'Hara's do sort of become plain, maybe a bit bland, a bit boring in comparison to things. And this is like just the lupulin shift that happens, where you just go after hoppier and hoppier beers. I'm guilty of this as much as anyone else. But you know what, there's times where when you sort of decide to roll stuff back in your taste buds and you have one of these beers and you realise just how clean it is, and just how in its simplicity and in its delivery from that simplicity, you end up with something which is really, really nice, really, really tasty, really refreshing as well. And that's the important thing, especially when we're talking about these summer months coming up, where the traditional thing is for summer ales is you start getting into almost like session style beers being the preference, or something which is incredibly citrusy. When I think, you know what, on a summer's day, something like this, which is incredibly clean, incredibly simple, the taste profile and the flavour profiles are very, very definitive. It's not asking too much of you either. I think this kind of this is going to really annoy some craft beer drinkers, but I'll do it anyway. This as a chilled beer Like, I'm not talking about like getting it freezing cold where there's no taste off it whatsoever. But I think as a beer that comes in, it's just got a nice little bit of a chill going on to it, and as it starts sort of coming up and sort of opening itself up, introducing itself to you, making itself known, you're becoming better acquainted with it as you're sitting over it. I think it's a really, really good solid beer. And again, not heavy, not overwhelming. And I think it just does the very, very simple things incredibly well. And I think that's what makes beers like this. O'Hara's are really, really good at this. And I don't think they get an awful lot of credit from people. Or they don't get enough credit, especially when we've got so many sort of more quote-unquote exciting beers out there where everyone's got like their latest experiment, hopping things up to the nth degree, loads of specialty ingredients, loads of really cool killer hops going in there. And I think sometimes, like as craft beer drinkers, we often forget that, you know what, it's the simple things with beers like this that when they're done incredibly well, consistently, beautifully crafted, and again, they're not doing anything more of you in terms of like asking of you than just to deliver a very, very clean set of flavours. And I think it's something that, you know, if you haven't tried the O'Hara's Red and you're kind of someone who's steered away from reds because of the sort of the Smithic stigma or that kind of thing, or if you've gone reds, that you've gone sort of full on imperial reds and everything else, step back, visit this beer. I guarantee it won't actually let you down. I think it's actually a really, really nice beer. And it's one that I can highly recommend, especially as we're getting into the summer months. I think this beer will be like a cracker on a really, really stoking hot day. Just one of these where it's come out of the fridge, it's had a little bit of time, just, you know, it's had to settle itself, has a tiny bit of coolness still to it as well. It's not quite room temperature type beer where it's just, that's completely where it's opened up at all times. I think it would be really, really nice as well. I think it would stand you in really good stead. Alcohol by volume in this again isn't, it's in the mid range, it's not heavy, it's not definitely not in the light side. It's definitely not like in the 2% type range, like 4.3% on this, which I think is, again, makes it incredibly easy to drink. It puts it just in around standard beer, but it doesn't have that heaviness factor to it either. And sometimes that can be the case with beers that are quite have a caramel thing going on, is that they can seem that they're a little bit heavy for something like a warm day. Like I said, this does things in well. And here's the thing, sometimes with beers, doing things in moderation and is enough for it to actually just be a good, solid beer. So if you haven't tried out the Irish Red Ale by O'Hara's, I suggest you do so. It's available in most off licenses around the country. It's available in an awful lot of supermarkets around the country, especially Tesco. It'll definitely be in Super Value. You'll definitely find it in places like O'Brien's, and you'll find it in carryouts and everything else. And there's very little more I can say about this. Cheers to you.